Hello dear friends, welcome to Concise Code channel. So in today's session we will take another set of JavaScript interview questions. Okay, so these are the questions which we will cover for this session. What are the promises in the JavaScript? What is async await in the JavaScript? Okay, arrow function and the function declaration versus the function expression, the templates, literals, destructuring in the JavaScript, and the spread operator. Okay, so first of all, let's understand like what are the promises in the JavaScript. I have created a separate PDF for you in order to explain like what all these concepts are. Okay. So let's check what is promise in the JavaScript. A promise is an object that represents the eventual completion or failure of an asynchronous operation. Okay. It acts like a placeholder for the result of an async task that will be available in the future. Okay. So why we are calling it as a placeholder for the result of an async task? Because it will be called in both the cases, no matter that particular asynchronous task is completed successful or failed. Okay, and it can have three state. A promise can have three state: the pending, fulfilled, and rejected. We can consider pending state as a initial state, fulfilled, so the operation completed successful, right? So it will be you can check this resolve method, right? Like whenever any asynchronous operation is completed successfully, then this resolve method will be called. And whenever any operation is failed, okay, then this reject method will be executed. Okay, and so this is a way to create a promise. Okay, we can create a promise like this, the new promise, and we can pass this resolve and reject as a parameter. Okay, and inside this function we can write any code. Here for now we have one condition only. Okay, let success, we have created this boolean variable here, let success equal to true, but we can have any code in this section, right? And if that code is executed successful, right, like this, if we have if else block here, if that code is executed successfully, then this line will be executed. Resolve operation was successful. Okay, then this line will be executed. And in case of any failure, this else block will be executed. Okay, so this is a way to create a promise. Next we will check like how we can call that promise or consume that promise. So this is a way to consume a promise. My promise, this is the promise which we have created just now, then dot then, and here we are passing the result as an argument. We are passing a result as an argument, and this line will be executed when a particular asynchronous task is executed successful. And you can check this another block dot catch, where we are passing this error. This is a like argument only error. Okay, and this catch block will be executed in case any asynchronous task is failed. Okay, so and these are the line which we have just defined when we create the promise. You can check the operation was successful, we are passing in this resolve method. The operation failed, we are passing in this reject method. Okay, so similarly, like it is printing when the operation executed successfully, then the operation was successful will be print. Okay, and in case of any failure, this console dot error, this line will be executed and it will print operation failed, right? And this finally block, this block will be executed either in both the conditions, right? So this is a way to call a particular promise. And this is example. Let's skip this example for now. Now let's check a modern way to create a promise by using the async and await keyword. Okay, so you can check here, we put this async keyword prior to this function get data function. Okay, and inside this function you can check this line const data await fetch data. So you can consider this fetch data is corresponding to the real operation which we want to perform or the real task which we want to execute. Okay, and await keyword, we put this await keyword prior to this fetch data function. Okay, just to ensure that whether this fetch data is completed successfully or not. Okay, so the corresponding or the subsequent line, the console.log, this line will only be executed if this fetch data is completed successfully. Okay, and the next block, so catch block is corresponding the block where we can expect some failure. Okay, so as we seen earlier in the promise, there are two sections, right? If a operation is successfully, then a particular block will be executed, and in case of any failure, then the corresponding block will be executed. Similarly, here by using the async and await, if this fetch data is completed successfully, then this try block will be executed, and in case of any failure or in case of any interruption, this catch block will be executed. And the next, we are simply calling this get data method. So this is another way to create a promise. So next, there are a couple of utilities which are available in the promises. Let's check those. So here you can check, I have created the couple of promises by using this promise.resolve. First, second, third, we have created 3 promises, right? And we are passing all these promises, or we are calling all these promises by using this promise.all, where we pass all these promises. Okay, and dot then this block will ensure that all the promises are executed successfully. If all these promises are executed successfully, then the corresponding values, first, second, third, these value will be print out. Okay, so this is one of the utilities. And another utility, promise.raise, as the name suggests, in case of any raise condition, we can use this promise.raise utility. So here we have created 2 promises, the fast, slow. There are 2 promises which we have created, and we are passing all these promises as a part of this raise, the promise.raise. Okay, here we are passing these promises, and as we know, there will be only one winner out of any race, right? So likewise, only one promise will be executed at first out of these two promises. Okay, because we are also setting out some time, 100 millisecond for this promise and the 500 millisecond for this promise, right? So this promise will be executed much faster than this, and this result, it will give us a fast, okay, as a outcome of this promise, right? So this is another utility provided by the promise. Next, come to the conclusion. The promises handle async code more cleanly than callbacks, right? The use dot then and dot catch or either async or await keywords in order to create the promises, right? The use promise dot all and the promise dot raise for the multiple tasks, right? So this is all about the promises. Now we will see one of the real example of the promise through code, right? Here I am trying to simulate the food delivery and wrote this function, the order food. Okay, and inside this function I have created a promise, new promise, and returning out of this function, right? So let's check this function, like what is happening in this function. First of all, created this promise and pass this resolve and reject as a parameter, right? At very first line, we are simply printing the line like ordering, like whatever we are ordering, so it will print that particular order, right? Okay, and after this line, we are using this set timeout function. Okay, so and passing the 2000 millisecond in this set timeout. Okay, So the maximum time which we have to deliver any food, which is like 2000 millisecond. Okay, and inside this set timeout, we have this variable is available. Okay, and what is the value of this available variable? The math dot random and greater than equal to 0.3. Okay, so if the mat dot random number random, it will return a value which is greater than zero point 0.3. Okay, in that case we can say that like food is available, and otherwise we can say the food is not available. Okay, so we can consider this logic to that this logic is correspond to the time which will be taken by any restaurant to prepare and deliver that particular food, right? So if this is available is true, then this corresponding line will be executed. If is available, it returns it contains the false, then this line will be executed, right? So this is about this order food function, and next we are calling this function order food. We are simply calling this function and passing the order which we want, right? So we want the pizza. Pizza should be delivered, right? So that's why we are passing the pizza inside this function, and you must be knowing that like how we can consume that particular promise, right? So there are two blocks are there, dot then and dot catch. Okay, so this block will be executed if our food is delivered successfully, and this block will be executed if our food is not ready and not able to deliver, right? And finally this block will be executed either in both the cases, right? So let's run this JavaScript file. Let me clear the console. So you can check the output ordering pizza. Okay, this is the first line which we have in this function, ordering and food item. It is giving us pizza because we want the pizza to be delivered. And the second, the sorry pizza is out of stock. Okay, so this condition met.random number, it is returning false. Okay, it means that like we don't have sufficient time to deliver that pizza, so that's why this is available variable contain false. Okay, that's why this else block is executing. Okay, and let's run this file again and let's see what will happen. Sorry, pizza again, it's giving us pizza is out of stock, right? So again math dot number, the return value out of this statement, it's less than 0.3. Okay, let's try to run this file again. So now you can check the output in the console, ordering pizza, your pizza is ready for delivery, right? Now this condition is this value is greater than 0.3, that's why this line is executing. Okay, and our pizza is delivered successfully, and that's why this dot then and here this dot then this block is being executed. Okay, and the corresponding message which we pass in this at here, okay, it is printing here. Okay, thank you for ordering, right? So this is the real example of promise. Okay, now let's check the next question. As you know, we have already covered first two questions. What are promises in the JavaScript? What is async await in the JavaScript? Okay, so let's check the next question. What are arrow functions in the JavaScript? Okay, so before proceeding with this question, I will request you to please don't forget to like and subscribe this channel, and please watch this video completely in order to get the complete advantage. Okay, so let's jump into the code now. So I have created this JavaScript file in order to explain that like how we can convert or how we can write any function by using the arrow function. Okay, So I have created this simple function, add function, where I am passing the two parameters a and b and returning the sum of those parameters out of these functions, right? And suppose if we want to write this function by using arrow function, so let's see like how we can do it. So by using arrow function, there is no need to have this function keyword. We can also remove this function name, okay? And after these parameters, okay, we can add the arrow function, okay, before this curly braces. And if you have noticed that there is only one statement between these curly braces, okay, so we can also remove this curly braces. If we have a like multiple statement, statements between these curly braces, okay, then in that case we cannot remove these curly braces. But now we can remove curly braces because there is only one statement is there, right? So we have removed this curly braces, and we can also remove this return type, okay. So this is our simple arrow function, okay, and this is corresponding to this function only, okay. But in order to call this function, we will have to assign some variable, right? We have to assign some variables, or we will have to give some name, right? Give name to this arrow function. So let's see, we are naming it as a add, okay, or addition, okay. And then we can simply call this arrow function, okay. How? Let's see like how we can call this arrow function. And let's print this value also. So console.log, okay. And then let's run this JavaScript file. So you can check the output in the console. It is giving us 10, right? Because we are passing the 4 and 6 and adding both these values, right? So by using the arrow function, we can write any function in very shorter or cleaner way, and it also reduces boilerplate code, right? So now let's take another example where we will have the multiple statement inside the curly braces, right? So let's create one function, multiply, passing two parameters, and inside constant okay, and now print the result. Also return this result out of this function. Okay, so let me format this. Okay, now we have to write this function by using the arrow function. Okay, let's see like how we can convert it. We can remove this function, correct? We can remove this function name also, and here we can add arrow function, okay. As we have multiple statements inside this function, okay, so we cannot remove this curly braces, correct? And in order to call this function, we will have to make some name, right? We will have to give some name to this arrow function, correct? So giving name as a multiply,
right? Now we can call this function. Suppose I'm giving 5 and 5 to this function. So let's see. What is the error? Multiply has already declared. Okay, so we have let's comment out this function. We have declared the two things, the this function and the this variable also with the multiply. So that's why it's giving us error, right? Now let's run it again. So you can check the output in the console. It's giving us 25. Okay. So this is another way, or this is another example, okay, where we have like multiple statements inside the curly braces, right? So this is how we can write any function by using the arrow functions, okay? And this arrow function is also like widely used operator in the other programming languages also, okay? So now let's check the next question. So function declaration versus the function expression, okay? So let's check like how, what is the difference between the function declaration and the function expression. So I have created this JavaScript file in order to explain the various differences between the function expression and the declaration, right? As we already know, like the function declaration support the hosting. Okay, what is hosting? So you can check here. So you can check here. I have declared one function and calling this function before declaring this function, right? So it will work in case of JavaScript only, right? But in case of function expression, it will not support. Okay, so this is a major difference. So let me run this code at first. It's giving us a error. Greet we have declared twice, right? Commenting out one of them. So you can check the output. It is printing high, right? So we are calling this function, okay, before declared before declaring this function, right? So it is called hosting, right? So the function declaration support the hosting, okay, but the function expression does not support hosting. Let's see like how. So here you can check I'm declaring one function, okay, so I'm not giving any name here, right? Simply assigning this function to this say hi variable, right? And if I'll call this say hi variable before this function expression, okay, so it will give us a error. Okay, so let's run this JavaScript file. Okay, I forgot to save this file. So cannot access say hi before initializing. You can check this error. Okay, we cannot use this say hi before declaring this function, right? So the function expression does not support hosting. So this is a major difference between the function expression and the function declaration. Okay, and another thing, we can create anonymous function expression, but we cannot create anonymous function declaration, right? So let's check.
This is one of the function expression, right? And assigning this function to this greet, right? And we are not giving any name to this function, right? But it will work. Let's check. Let's run this file again. Okay, let me comment out this code. It should print function expression, right? It should print this hi. Why it is not printing? Okay, I'm not calling this greet. So you can check the output. It is giving us a hi, right? So here we are not giving any name to this function. Okay, but we can also give some name to this function expression. So in the next example, I'm giving name also. Let me comment this code. So you can check this function expression. I'm giving this hello name to this function. Okay, and let's call this function expression again and run this JavaScript file. It giving us a hi, right? So these are the basic differences between the function expression and the function declaration. Function expression are not allowed hosted. Okay, scope of the function expression is limited to declared variable only. Okay, so you can check the whatever the variable which we are declaring in order to assign any function expression, then the scope of that function expression will be limited to that particular variable only. Okay, and the last one, the function expression may have name or not. Okay, so we can create anonymous function expression also, but we cannot create anonymous function declaration. In case of function declaration, we must have we will have to provide some name, right? So these are the basic differences between the function declaration and the function expression. Okay, let's check the next question now. This session is becoming longer, so I'll take the remaining questions in the next video. Okay, thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe this channel. Thank you once again.